Everyone, it's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover. And along with me today is, that handsome guy with the famous hat that knows everything about eye care, the famous Dr. Adam Ramsey. How are you doing, Dr. Ramsey?
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. Let's go.
I know that's right, man. You got to stay blessed. That's the only way to make it through this COVID-19, right? And just life in general, real talk.
Yeah.
And today we also have someone that's really in the epicenter of all of this COVID-19 that's doing some amazing things in eye care, whether it's dealing with legislation, whether it's private practice. This man knows it all and he's done it all. Friends and family, I'd like to welcome our colleague, Dr. Jason Compton. Dr. Compton, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, as good as I can be. I'm blessed. Woke up this morning, I'm blessed.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Compton, before we get started, we always like to introduce our guests to the world. And right now, you really have the world listening to you, because with our previous streams, we've had people from where, Adam?
Right now, we've had all around pretty much the U.S. We have some doctors from Florida. We've had some doctors from Atlanta, Georgia. We've had some doctors from Chicago. So we're trying to, we had California. We had some students that are graduating this year from California. So we've been trying to hit the Midwest, the South, and now we're going to New York City. You can make it there. You can make it anywhere. That's what they say.
You got it. And we've had followers ask questions from South Africa, from Nigeria, from Canada, from
UK. We have some London. We have some London questions.
Yeah.
Australia. We had some people come in from Australia. You know, Dr. Glover got followers everywhere. You know what I mean? When he throws his name out there and he's like, "Hey, I'm going live," they come in from everywhere. So international following over here. International Man of Mystery. I'm about to give him a new name, pretty soon.
You see, I thought they were coming because of your beautiful smile, man.
Don't mess the money up. I tell anybody, anything happens, don't mess with the money.
There you go.
Don't mess with the money.
Well, check it out, Dr. Compton. We always like for our guests to always just educate us about who they are. Number one, how did you get into the eye care industry? Why did you get into the eye care industry? What school did you go to? And just giving us an overview of, what you're doing right now currently in the eye care business. So if you don't mind, just defining who you are as a person.
Okay, so like you said, my name is Dr. Compton, born and bred in New York, love New York. I went to SUNY Optometry. After I graduated from SUNY, I did a residency out in Delaware, at a VA. I couldn't spend too much time in Delaware. I was dying, so I ended up moving to Philly, and it was the closest, next best thing to New York at the time. But after that, I came right back. I did kind of the independent contracting thing for a while. For about 2 years, I developed a great relationship with an MD in the area. One of his docs went on maternity leave, and he asked if I could do some fill-ins for him. 8 years later, I found myself in a practice. I stayed there for quite some time, 8 years. But after that, I decided, listen, it was time for me to move on. I developed two own private practices I opened from scratch. My Manhattan practice, we made our 5th year's birthday during COVID-19, which was in April 2nd. And my Bronx location, we made a year in February.
Okay.
So love it.
Congratulations, man. Happy birthday to the practice.
Yeah. See, the thing is, if you know anything about me, I like doing things big. Like, we had it all planned out, like the red carpet, like all that stuff, events, but it's all right,
Well, earlier we were touching on people all across the world. I mean, we have someone, Jason Kirk from Kirk and Kirk. Unsure if you're familiar with that brand or not, but that's a big independent eyewear brand. A lot of times when I'm on social media or doing different events, I'm always wearing Kirk and Kirk eyewear. So shout out to Jason over in the UK.
Those are the acrylic ones?
Yep, they're acrylic ones. You got it.
Oh, you gotta put me on. I didn't know about that.
Oh, they're light. They're much lighter. They're much lighter than the acetate. So yeah, that's a good thing. Let me tell you who we got right now from LinkedIn. We got Lavelle from Texas. We got Carl from Southport, UK. We got Chinka from Dubai.
Oh, wow.
We got Ryan Hanks from Raleigh, North Carolina. We got Cameroon. We got Nambia I mean, I might be butchering some of these names, but he told you Dr. Glover is an international man of mystery. We got people. We got Nigeria, Olive from Nigeria. I mean, maybe I probably Olivier, but from Nigeria. I mean, we got people all over. I'm telling you, everybody's chiming in, man. They wanted to see the money man in the middle here. So
we got Susie Sindel from Montreal up in Canada as well. And we got looks like Aaron over from Cali also. And we got our girl Jen, Dr. Jen Chen in California. And you know, the man himself, Terrence from Vision Expo. Showing love to the Kirk and Kirk brand. You know, he knows that.
Of course, Terrence. I know Terrence very well.
Yeah. So you're getting some love, man. You're bringing people out, man. We appreciate everyone tuning in, because this is a truly important stream today, just simply because, as we mentioned earlier, Dr. Compton is in the epicenter of all of this COVID-19. So he's really going to bring some light to, you know, what he has going on and, you know, the future of New York and eye care. But before we get into that, I really want to talk a little bit more about private practice, you know, just, you know, whatever information you can give to some of the listener and followers about, you know, what truly made you go that route outside of some of the things that you touched on, and where you see private practice going on. And then we want to get into some of your advocacy roles that you do on a local level and also on a national level, if you don't mind, Dr. Compton.
Absolutely. To be perfectly honest, when I was in optometry school, even when I was working at that MD, OMD practice, I didn't really see myself as a private practice owner. It was just that over time, I just saw myself taking more and more leadership roles within the practice, even within the profession. And when there were some kind of internal things going on in the practice, I saw myself, I really didn't see myself working for anyone else at that point. Right now, my thing is specialty contact lenses. I love them. And I saw a big5 for that in my area. And I really just kind of pulled the trigger and I went for it. Like I said, I'm 5 years in at this point. I'm super excited that I did it. But it's opened up a lot of opportunities for me, not only from a business sense, in the community. I'm really involved in the community, not optometrically, just actually my community in Uptown Manhattan and in the Bronx. It's done a lot for me, and I'm a huge advocate for the profession. And I think that we definitely, I remember when I was in optometry school, the woman that actually introduced me into optometry, she said, Compton, it's the world's best kept secret. And I honestly, to this day, I believe it. I mean, I honestly believe it because I didn't know anything about it. And I couldn't see myself doing anything else at this point.
Gotcha. You know, something that you touched on, which I think is very key for a successful optometrist, is being active in the community. And, you know, that's one thing that I like about both of you gentlemen. I know Adam is heavy in this community. Every time I see him, he's, you know, hanging out with some legislator, or they're in his office getting an eye exam, or he's in a community doing stuff with nonprofit work, or he's visiting the schools. And it sounds like, you know, you're doing the same thing. How has that helped you, just not personally, but also professionally? And I like to get that answer from both of you guys, because I really want the folks that are listening to know how critical it is from a standpoint of, yes, it'll make your practice grow, but also personally, it'll make you grow as a person, which will make you better all around.
Well, I mean, I would say real talk, like what's going on right now, COVID-19 is a perfect example. Mm-hmm. So I am the chair of the Merchant Association for Northern Manhattan. And just yesterday morning, I was on a Zoom call with my United States legislator, my congressman. And we're there talking about, you know, what is available, whether it's funding, whether it's communication with landlords. I'm at the table where these conversations are being had. And so again, this has nothing to do with optometry, but these people know me as Dr. Compton. And I'm at the table, and it's helped with regards to funding, but it's also helped as far as my community, because my community sees that I'm not only in there just trying to get them for eye exams. They see me at, you know, the school events. They see me at the community events. So it's helped, like you said, not only in a professional level, but on a personal one.
think he froze. Is that
Yeah,
me?
a little bit.
All right, so I can ask my I can put in my thing here. I would say that being in the community is super important. They have to know that you care before you start talking about what's going on with their eyes and this, that, and they want to know. The patient wants to know, do you care about them? Are you engaged with them as a person? You know, when Mrs. Smith comes in, if I don't ask about her daughter, her granddaughter, how she's doing, how her husband is doing, that he had surgery last week, there's a disconnect there. But if I start the conversation off with, "Hey, how's it going? Is your husband doing okay? I heard he fell last week." All of a sudden, she's like, "Oh, you actually care about me. We ain't even talking about eyes." And then now the wall comes down, the barrier gets separated. So then when I ask her, "Now look me in my eye and tell me you taking your drops," and she look at me and she's like, "Dr. Ramsey, you know I ain't even taking my drops. I took them this morning though." Now all of a sudden we have a different relationship. So being in the community, for me, it has to be inside of you too, though. Nobody can say they want to go into private practice and fake it. You can't fake it, because the times when you out there grinding in the hot sun, you giving away stuff, you doing health fairs in the career days, and you take a half day because the school wants you to come at 12 o'clock in the noon to come to a school that's 40 minutes away. Like, that's the whole day. My whole day is shot, you know? So, but you have to really care and want to do it for yourself. And out of that outpouring of the heart, the mouth speaks. You know what I mean? That's where it really comes from. If something has to be from within you. I would never think somebody could try and fake it and try and say they'll do it after they open out, do that. People will see through that. Mrs. Smith will see through you so quick, and all of a sudden she'll be turned off by you doing that because it doesn't seem authentic.
You know, it's funny what you said. I'm gonna give you a little pushback in asking patients about what's going on. One of my mentors, he always told me, he's like, "Compton, he's like, don't ever ask a patient you don't already know the answer to." I'll give you a perfect example. I had this patient, she'd come, she'd always talk about her cat. You know, always talk about, she loves her cat, she loves her cat. So I said, "Oh, how's your cat doing?" "Oh, my cat died." And she's crying, and I reminded her about the cat. And I was like, oh my goodness, I felt terrible. So I was, you always got to be careful with that. You ask about, "Oh, how's your husband?" "Oh, he left me." And you know what I'm saying? So you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Well, you do want to know the answer. You do want to kind of know the answer a little bit. What I struggle with on that, because I've had that happen to me as well. So, you know, your husband, he's going through like it's tough. But I try not to let the 5%
you're right.
had mess me up for the 95% of people that would appreciate the conversation. So sometimes you gotta take it on the chin when sometimes that you think it's gonna be 30 seconds, and all of a sudden they knock on the door like, "Dr. Ramsey, we got 2 more people waiting." Like you didn't even get to which is better, 1 or 2 yet, you know, because you start going down the road. So I definitely, you know, you play the air, you figure out the room, you check the temperature of the room, you know, you kind of feel that out. But sometimes that connection really does matter. A lot of times I don't know the answer because I've already seen it on social media, and I'm trying to like really engage them there. But one thing I want to get back to is that you said you did specialty contact lenses. Now, what type of specialty contact lenses are you doing? You know, because that you know that's a very, very broad statement there. And what made you go down that avenue?
It's interesting because my residency, I was residency trained in a VA. I mean, I didn't even know what a contact lens was. I was pretty much self-taught. I mean, I spent a lot of time in conferences. I made sure that I was in circles of doctors that really knew what they were doing, and I learned. Right now, I do a lot of ortho-K in the office. I developed a great relationship with some corneal surgeons at a local hospital, and they send me all of their train wreck corneas. So we're doing hybrids, we're doing sclerals, we're doing standard GPs, pretty much anything. And it's gotten to the point now where when the students come from SUNY, my externs, like that's what they look forward to in the practice, is getting that exposure, because I love teaching. And it's given me the opportunity to kind of really get good on that skill.
Now, you said that you were
what percentage
What resources are you reaching out to outside of just your basic reading and things like that? Are you going to certain conferences in particular? Because I know you said you're going for the best of the best. So what advice do you have in regards to outside of your normal literature that you would read? What places are you actually going to actually learn from these experts?
The Global Specialty Lens Conference was always my favorite. I learned a lot there. I would say, though, that, listen, these manufacturers are not making money if you're not fitting their lenses correctly. So it's as easy as just doing their YouTube videos, but picking up the phone. Listen, I have this problem. What do I need to do to fix it? They want you to be successful because you're not going to buy their products if you're not. And that's pretty much how I learned, just kind of step by step. You know, I made a lot of mistakes at the time. To be honest, I was working with an ophthalmologist that really didn't care about, he didn't really monitor redos and things like that. So, I mean, I wouldn't be able to learn it myself in my own budget, but, back then it was kind of a perfect opportunity to learn. And, but I weighed very heavily on my consultants, very heavily.
All right, so we have a question from the audience, two questions from the audience here in LinkedIn land. So if you have any questions posted in LinkedIn, I am watching you guys out here. So they're asking, due to this pandemic, what measures are you doing as far as telemedicine? How does that play a role? Are you utilizing it in your practice in New York, being that you're at the epicenter? Give me the telemedicine thing. What are you doing with that?
So that's a great question, because I have a lot of colleagues that are doing it, and I will tell you that we actually made a decision not to do it. I'm not doing it. There's a couple reasons why. A lot of it has to do with for insurance reasons, but we are constantly we have opened up. We're very connected with our patients, be it social media and with email. And we opened it up to our patients in that we're allowing them to email us questions, and we're not really billing their insurance. They DM me all the time on Instagram with concerns and pictures. And at this point, it's at a level that I've been able to manage it, and I'm not really too aggressively thinking about telemedicine. And in part that we're really thinking about opening up end of May, early June, just for emergency cases only. So we're not really doing it, but that's not to say I discourage it or anything, because I know you're even doing it, and I have a lot of colleagues that do it, but we haven't opened it up in our practice. And the crazy thing is, you know, I would say maybe 6 months ago, I had a conference with Eye Care Live. I believe it's a platform that does it. And we had to schedule the call to actually do it, and I shied away from it. But it's funny, hindsight's 2020. I guess I should have did it at the time.
Before we get back to your other question there, the next question is, for those that are watching that may not have seen our other lives about telemedicine, you do need to find out what works in your area, what works in your city. Insurances, some are allowing you to submit, some are not. You do need to watch your modifiers. Right now, they're asking for a 95 modifier plus an O2 place of service code to be added to those visits. You can do telehealth. You can connect. For most part, you should already have a relationship with that patient, and make sure you're doing it in the state that you're licensed. So you can't, if you're licensed in New York, you can't do a telehealth visit for somebody in Georgia if you do not have a license there. So making sure that you do follow those rules. In my office, we are using telehealth. I actually did one 10 minutes before I got on this webinar. And it is just really a convenience point right now for the patient. You can do text and email and photos and stuff like that once you're HIPAA compliant. But then sometimes you lose that engagement with the patient to really understand the context of that photo, the context of that picture or that video that they're sending you. There are a lot of platforms out there. Today I was using a platform and the platform was messing up. So I had to switch it to, I can see the video of you here. I'm going to call you on the phone. I'm using the audio from the phone. So you just kind of got to roll with the punches. A lot of people's internet is going in and out. You know, it's going to be a little bit difficult, but once you're willing to adjust with, the only thing constant is change in life. So once you're able to adjust with that, telehealth is an option. We did do a telehealth broadcast before, so anybody that wants to see that, just click back before we did one a few days ago that gives it a little bit more specifics on that particular subject.
Dr. Compton, if you don't mind, we see all this stuff on the news in regards to New York. Can you really just paint a picture of what New York actually looks like in this current state of COVID-19? I mean, I would love to know from someone that's actually there, how are the streets? Are people really not out there? People really indoors? How's the grocery store? How's the shopping experience? How's the healthcare? I mean, like, what's really going on out there? If you could really just paint a picture so people can understand exactly what you're going through.
The dynamic is crazy when you think about it, because you're talking about streets that were just like, I mean, you've probably even seen on TV or on Instagram or something, like pictures of like Times Square where there's nobody out there. Like, to be from this area and see that, it's very eerie, and the whole supermarket thing is a little comical. Like, I don't understand what happened with the toilet paper issue. Like, to this day, I don't get it. I had to take toilet paper from my office to bring home because I couldn't find it anywhere. I don't get that. But thankfully, like, it hasn't really affected the food supply. One thing that has been really great in New York is kind of Uber Eats and Grubhub, these platforms that allow our local restaurants to stay in business. So that's been really good. People, to the most part, are respecting it or wearing their masks when they go out. But it's just the numbers. It's a numbers thing. Like, just to see the streets where they are and where they normally were before is very eerie.
Yeah. And seems like we're getting a little echo in here. But in regards to your practice, how has the financial situation been? Were you able to apply for some of these small business loans, the PPP, EIDL, various things that are out there? How's that work with New York and your relationship with banks and things of that nature?
So I was fortunate enough to work with a smaller bank. So a lot of my friends and colleagues that use the major banks like the Chase, the B of A's, the Citibanks, they had a hard time because they were just going up against a lot of people. I was able to get funding. I got my PPP. I got it deposited in the account, yesterday, the day before. One of the local hospitals had a grant that they issued to a lot of the businesses in Uptown Manhattan. I was able to receive that. Facebook just opened up their grant process again. I applied for that. So, I mean, I definitely, and that kind of goes back to what we said previously, that is me being involved in the community, because being involved in the community and my Chamber of Commerce, like, anytime anything came out, like, I was right there. I knew exactly what was going on. I stayed connected. So it was really easy for me to access that, because, I mean, at the end of the day, obviously I'm worrying about my family, but I have 12 other families I have to worry about also. I have a decent sized staff, and all these people have kids they got to feed, and husbands and wives, and they're counting on me to provide for them. So, now that I have the PPP, my staff is loving it because they're home, and they're episodes and they're getting paid. But for me, it's good. Like, I have access to them. They're receiving phone calls. They're helping me with a lot of paperwork and things we weren't able to do throughout the year. So I'm okay with it right now. I'm very fortunate because I know a lot of my colleagues are having a hard time. I know that the Senate passed a new bill. Was it yesterday? We're waiting on the House. I haven't seen it in the last 2 days, but I know we're waiting for another round of the stimulus, and we'll see how it goes. And it's just that it's tough for a lot of docs out there. It's really tough. I've been fortunate.
Yeah, I think one of the major issues that I'm seeing right now, there was an article that was released earlier today where they were talking about this lady that owns a spa shop, and the kickback that she was getting from her actual team members or staff in her office was just horrible. And when you look at it, in a way, the government, they're out to help us out, right? But at the same time, if you're getting so much in unemployment and that's surpassing what you typically get paid in your practice, like, do you expect for them to actually come back to your practice, or are they going to
ride a huge thing
out? So it's like they kind of set you up for failure in a way, but at the same time, they are helping you. It sounds like you're not really running into those problems, which is a great thing.
Well, some of my staff weren't able to get unemployment for whatever reason, maybe the backlog or whatever reason. So they were super excited. Other staff members, so the way that it worked, the city calculated your regular salary, and on top of that, they were giving them $600 a week. So I have some low-level staff that are like killing it right now. They're like, and I'm like, nope, I'm putting you back on payroll. It was nice. You had a nice little run, but no, you got to give them money. That's it. You got to go back on payroll, but it's tough. There's going to be a lot of businesses out there that are going to take advantage of that. And it's going to be tough to get people off of unemployment. It really is.
And that's Florida.
Against the back from you, Daryl. Yeah, so they are. I think it really depends. In Florida, only 9% of people that apply for unemployment were able to receive it. 9%. Yeah. So right now, it's a big struggle. So my staffers are waiting for me to actually get the PPP money so that they can actually get back on. I ended up paying my staff all their PTO and all their stuff. So the last check they got a couple weeks ago was like close to double what they normally would get. So they had like a little buffer, and then they got the $1,200 stimulus they had some of them had kids and stuff like that. So I think in about 2 weeks, if they don't actually get the unemployment, they're gonna be hitting me up kind of thing. So I'm hoping to be able to get the PPP money if the government doesn't come through. I think as an employer, that's one thing that I never really understood as well as when you say you have 12 families that are depending on you. You know what I mean? I have 5 families that are depending on me. And it's just like when you know them, I've been to their house, you know what I mean? I know their kids. So to say that I can't, they're trusting me to provide for them. And when I started my private practice, I set up multiple revenue streams so that I was like, hey, if this goes down, we got this. And we would literally talk about that at our meetings. I said, hey, we're starting a new thing. This is why we're doing it. So that if anything happens with these insurance companies, they want to kick us off the panel. If anything happens with the landlord, if anything happens with this, we have ways to do it. So they were bought in on the multiple revenue streams.
Good point.
And then when almost all the revenue streams dried up, they looking at me like, you said we was good. And I was like, I did not prepare for the apocalypse.
I know, right? What's wrong with you, bro?
Yeah, I know. I tried. I mean, we go to the Indian reservations. We do, off-site stuff. We're starting up an online store. I was, doing everything, and they were bought in on the multiple revenue stream, so they didn't see it as a negative, like, oh, you're giving me more work. No, I'm giving you job security with these multiple revenue streams. So they were, bought in. A lot of those are not, at no fault of our own, are not working. But you know what? During this pandemic, I've come up with 2 or 3 more revenue streams that will work even within this. So because you can't prepare for something that nobody's ever seen before, that's never happened before, it's very hard to imagine that big or that, to go that far. But now we're prepared. So when they talk about a second wave that may come in the winter, okay, Socialite Vision will be ready if we get shut down because of the work we're doing now. So that this happens again and the government doesn't want to give us more money, we're going to be okay. And I think that's where they get bought in. But yeah, I have staff that got the money and they don't want to come back, and they're hoping to drag that out as long as possible. And then I have other staff that didn't get it, and they're looking at me like, hey, so we get paid Friday, right? So I think it depends on your personal situation, but I think the government did us a disservice. I think they should have had the option to come back or not to come back and wouldn't lose the money. Because it's a little unfair in both ways for us to pay them to stay home. I don't get it.
And another thing that I was actually thinking about yesterday when I was talking to my congressman is that they give us 8 weeks to use that money, and if as a grant, and after that it's no longer a grant. And I'm thinking I got to spend this money, and I would have loved to be able to stretch it out, because 8 weeks we may be open, but I mean, is my office going to be packed full of patients? No. Is it going to be all different types of protocols I'm going to have to put in place that are going to limit the patient flow? So I'm going to need that money to stretch out a little longer. So now I'm trying to figure out, well, what am I going to do with this money that's going to maybe last longer than 8 weeks? But I got to let them. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that is a tricky part. that you have to spend it within the 8 weeks, and then say you're shut down. So you're going to take somebody off unemployment, pay them to come back in the office, have them come in for 8 weeks. Then New York is still shut down. So then you're going to put that person back on unemployment, where it takes a while to get started back up, to get that going.
Again, yeah.
And then they're going to then have to release some other money. So it's not very well thought out. But I do think that it's incumbent on us to stick together. So having these conversations that we're having now,
Agreed.
that are engaged online on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube and everybody that's engaged and that we'll be hearing it later, understand that we're all in this together. And I think if we can keep this collective voice where, hey, Dr. Compton, you and I, we're together. I got your back, you got my back. If I got information, you got information. And if we can help each other through this crisis, and when this crisis is over, if we can stay this connected, if once a month we can still stay connected to each other, I think the profession is going to be better, not worse afterwards. The engagement and the connection that we're getting now when we have the time, I think we all need to make the time later to stay engaged, because we're going to do even better. Now, I know that you're doing a lot of stuff with advocacy. You're doing a lot of stuff at the high end level, the big, I'm over here the chairman of the board for my local society. You up at the top. We taking direction from you. So fill us in on that. What got you started? Why did you even do it? Because that's extra work, unpaid extra work. What made you get involved there? And what are your roles? Give us what the Airway is doing. The people want to know, where's my money going?
Okay, so I mean, just on a personal level, I've always been, when I say always, from when as a student, I was definitely involved in AOA. I mean, you think about optometry, there's pretty much two arms when you talk about like getting involved, like organized optometry, whether it's the academy, where it's more academic, and the AOA is more like the political arm. And that section really was, I was drawn to. Right now, this is a perfect example of how the AOA is fighting on our behalf. I mean, this whole thing with the federal legislation and just making sure optometry is included in the legislation that's coming down. I mean, what it comes down to is how we define the word physician. Because when Medicare is thinking about reimbursements, if optometry is recognized as a physician, we can participate in a lot of the changes that's going on with COVID-19. And that's what optometry legislatively has been doing recently. And they were able to kind of make sure that that wording was there so that when you do your telehealth medicine, Medicare does recognize optometry as a physician. And so when that bill went through, optometry was involved in it. And that was huge. That was huge. That all came through bill negotiations. That all came through our advocates for the profession doing that. I mean, on a more specific role within the AOA, I am currently the chair-elect. I'll be the chair in May. I guess we're not having the meeting. I would have been elected at the meeting, but I would have been the chair of the contact lens and cornea section of the AOA. And specifically with regards to COVID-19, ophthalmology there were some prominent ophthalmologists speaking to contact lens wear and how it was being discouraged. And both our organization and that wing of the academy, we got together and we connected with the CDC and we put guidelines out as to that there really isn't any studies that show that you're at a higher risk, but that there are certain things as a contact lens user that you should and need to be doing to protect yourself. So both the Academy and the AOA were like right at the forefront in educating the CDC on the public and how they should deal with contact lenses. So it's things like this, just communicating on behalf of our profession that I love to do.
Dr. Compton, how important is it for other colleagues to step their game up? I mean, this past year, I got involved with the North Carolina Optometric Society more. So what I did was a leadership program, and the stuff that I found out that was going on behind the scenes, I had no clue about. So I started donating money. I started donating my time. What advice do you have for our colleagues that are not actually actively participating, because it's not always about the money. It's also about putting that time in to do various things. If you don't mind touching on, the importance of just being more active in your local society, but also the national organization as well.
I mean, I could tell people to be more active until I'm blue in the face, but I think until they realize what's going on, that's when they get that motivation. And what I try to remind people is that optometry is a legislative profession. We can only practice to the extent that the law allows us to. So depending on what state you're in, you can only do what the law says you can do. We don't have an open market like medical doctors do. So being involved on that level is extremely important. And then you look at things, I can guarantee you that as a practitioner, you're upset about what's going on with Warby Parker. You're upset at what's going on with 1-800 contacts and online eye exams. These are all things that your advocates in the profession are fighting with on a daily basis. Things like passive verification, those phone calls or faxes that you get on Sunday at 4 o'clock asking to renew your patient's contact lens prescription. Yeah. Your patients coming in using Hubble contact lenses and asking for a renewal when they never had an eye exam. The last eye exam was 2016. These are all issues that every practitioner is probably upset with, but you don't realize that people that are fighting on your behalf to deal with these issues. So it kind of starts just with educating people, letting them know that that their help is needed. And again, like you said, not everybody is going to go to Capitol Hill and talk with their legislator. We don't need everybody to. It could be just disseminating information to your colleagues. It could be, like you said, just that your dues. There's a lot of ways that people can help. There's a lot of ways you can help.
Yeah, that's key. And like I said, I did that program and it just opened up my eyes. I didn't have I'm not gonna say I didn't have any knowledge, but I wasn't as knowledgeable as I should have been in regards to all the moving pieces on the back end. So, I'm excited the stuff that you're doing on a local level, also on a national scale. And I hope that our colleagues will step their game up and start donating more money, paying their dues, giving time, because we need this. And it shows during this time of COVID-19 how important those relationships are. I mean, just talking to you and talking to Dr. Adam Ramsey, I mean, you guys are having these conversations with these legislators, and these legislators are going to remember you when anything healthcare comes up. They're going to have you on that speed dial to call. Let me call Dr. Compton. Let me call Dr. Ramsey and see what their opinion is about this. So when they go to vote for whatever bill or whatever thing it is that we're trying to do to have scope expansion or protect our rights, we're going to keep the mind. So, this legislation deal is really a big deal. And I'm glad that you were able to give us some insight in regards to what goes on the back end and some tips as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Dr. Ramsey, did you have a question over there?
No. I said I agree. I love it. I think the work you do at the Airway level, I don't think everybody understands. So I'm on the board for my local society, and we do a regional board of directors meeting where we're able to actually see and hear the back end stuff that's going on in the state and the national level. And I think when I was able to hear that and see that, I was like, oh, this is what they're talking about. And I think the more people actually get engaged and they can see the battles that were fought for you that didn't made it so that your life wasn't affected. I think sometimes we only give credit to the state and local associations when we actually have a harm happen to us, and then they step in. But they're not giving credit for all the times that they went to bat for us. And that way we were able to continue on with our life and live the life that we want to live and live the lifestyle we want to live. And I think the more people are engaged and actually see the battles that are fought for us, the better off we're going to be.
Absolutely. Well, Dr. Compton, we greatly appreciate having you on the show today. One thing that we always ask all our guests, our colleagues, is to, just leave us with some last thoughts, whatever advice you may have for all our colleagues out there. And if you want to leave some contact information so they can reach out to you if they want to learn about how to get more involved, or if they have a question about specialty contacts. I mean, you're running a successful practice or practices out there in New York, so I'm pretty sure a lot of folks have some questions for you.
I would say definitely. I'm much better responding to my email now because I'm home all the time. But my email is jcompton, COMPTON at comptoneye.com. I would say, listen, I love what you guys are doing. I think just kind of going back to what we said before, it's connections like these, it's conversations like these that we're going to be able to survive. I mean, optometry we're built on fighting disruptors. I mean, whether it's ophthalmology, opticians, whether it's the legislation, whether it's 1-800 contacts, we know how to deal with disruption, you know? So this COVID-19, we got this, you know what I'm saying? But we have to kind of make sure that, you know, we're bringing our ideas together so we're not reinventing the wheel. I mean, I've learned so much in these different Zoom sessions that I've had, even today's section today, you know, there's actually something that you said about getting my employees to buy in on other projects, like things like that is how we're going to be able to stand strong. And I salute you guys of what you're doing here.
Well, you know, there's one last thing I did want to touch on. I'm talking about new projects. I know you have a new business, something contact lens related. If you don't mind just giving a good overview of that.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. So a couple of years ago, I played around with the idea of a project called therightcontact.com. So the best way to describe it is like an online version of Tyler's. So it has every contact lens that's made, and it allows you to search based on base curve, based on diameter, based on optic zone, power, whatever. So it's a project that, you know, I've been playing around with a lot. And now with the COVID, I have a lot more time on my hands. So like you said, I got a couple of my employees buying, well, they're doing it just because I told them to do it. But now I'm gonna explain to them the benefits of trying to get that additional stream to secure for job security. But yes, it's a product that I have. I'm hoping to really, it's up live now, but I'm hoping to promote it within the next couple of months or so. But thank you for allowing me to plug that a little bit.
Yeah, and what's the website's name?
Therightcontact.com.
And that's right, RIGHT?
Contact.com.
Okay. And will this be a website, or is it going to be an app down the road, or?
Well, we did the website, so it's mobile ready. So we may not necessarily need to have an app, but yeah, it's up and running.
Okay. Is there a cost for doctors to use it?
Right now, it's perfectly free. We're working with a business model that we're going to charge advertising, so we're hoping that it could stay free for the practitioners.
Okay, I love it. Anything that's new, that's the thing. New things always come out of turmoil and tragedy. You know what I mean? Like Uber started during the last recession. Pinterest started during the last recession. You know, whenever something goes down, people figure out ways to grow out of that. You know what I mean? Like there are things that we've added in, and there are things that we're doing I'm seeing a whole bunch of online opticals. I'm seeing a whole bunch of people doing telemedicine. I'm seeing a whole bunch of people writing books and starting blogs and doing podcasts and staying engaged and starting those other businesses that they always said they would do, but they never found the time to do it. And that's where I feel like this moment and this time, you know, there's a few times in people's lives that you're going to remember. We remember 9/11. People remember the Great Recession. People are going to remember this, but they're also going to remember how we treated them during these times. Our patients are going to know if we were there for them or we left them hanging. And they're going to know about the offices that did leave them hanging. And then all of a sudden, 100%. I'm going to be like, come on over to Social Life Vision because we got you over here.
100%.
But people are going to remember how we treated them and how it was going on during this moment and during this time. And when this is over and the storm has passed and the skies have opened up, there are going to be flowers that are going to bloom, and there's going to be something positive that will come out of this. And I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to ride that wave and be there and be engaged and be able to connect with all these great colleagues right now. So I'm loving it. I'm happy. And I'm happy to be able to connect with you, put a face to the name, and being able to engage. And as soon as this is over and we can get on there. I might try and get a couple of these cheap flights at the tail end. You know, I'm ready to. I'm pulling up. You know, first
I got you.
Well, again, Dr. Compton, we greatly appreciated having you on the show today. I mean, you gave a lot of great insight. Thank you for giving us a good update on, eye care in New York, educating us about the importance of legislation, whether on a local level, on a national scale, about your new project that you have coming out. And Dr. Adam Ramsey, thanks always for giving that good insight as well. I mean, I think, one of the key things that we have to realize is that we do need to give our team members in our office more ownership. So when you are going through difficult and tough times, they're able to step up to the plate and understand what you're going through, because they almost feel like a business owner as well. So it's important to make sure that you incorporate them into your thoughts and into your plans. And it's important to make sure, as Dr. Ramsey mentioned, that we really, really give our patients what they need. But also, don't just look at your patients, look at your team members. Make sure you treat them well, because they will remember this through this difficult time also. But thanks again, everyone. It's your favorite optometrist, Dr. Daryl Glover, and I'm hanging out with the handsome young man, Dr. Adam Ramsey, with the famous hat. And Dr. Compton, thanks again. You guys have a great one, and as always, stay healthy, stay blessed, stay positive. We're going to make it through COVID-19 together, because this profession is great, and we're surrounded by great people. You guys have a great day.
Do the same. Thank you.
Thanks.